Commander Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of Terra's Promise and watched the stars bend around them. The ship moved faster than light, something humans had only learned to do 5 years ago. Before that, Earth was alone in the dark. Now they were traveling to meet aliens for the first time. "Sir, we're getting close to the meeting point," said Lieutenant Bio Ram Lee from her station. She was the ship's science officer and had spent months learning everything about the species they were going to meet. Daeho nodded. His hands were steady, but inside he felt nervous. This meeting could change everything for humanity. The message had come 3 months ago from a species called the Lyrians. They said they had been watching Earth and wanted to talk. "Drop out." "Of faster-than-light travel," Daeho ordered. The stars stopped bending and became normal points of light again. In front of them was a beautiful sight. 3 ships hung in space, but they looked nothing like human ships. These ships were made of what looked like crystal. They were clear and blue, and light seemed to move through them like water. "My God," whispered Dr. Hyjin Park, the ship's diplomat. "They're beautiful." A voice came through the radio, but it wasn't heard with ears. Somehow, the words appeared directly in their minds. "Welcome, humans from Earth. We are the Lyrians. We have waited long to meet you." Daeho had read about this. The Lyrians could speak mind to mind. He thought his words carefully before speaking. Out loud, "This is Commander Daeho Kim of Earth. We're honored to meet you. Please come aboard our ship. We have much to discuss." An hour later, Daeho, Hyjin, and Bioram stood inside the Lyrian ship. Everything was made of the same crystal material, but it felt warm and alive. Soft music seemed to come from the walls themselves. The Lyrians were tall, maybe 8 feet high. Their skin looked like living crystal, changing color slowly from blue to green to silver. When they moved, small sounds like bells came from them. 3 Lyrians waited for the humans. "I am Veltar," said the middle Lyrian. The words still came directly into their minds. "I speak for our government. We have watched your species for 50 of your years." Hyjin stepped forward. As Earth's top diplomat, this was her moment. "We're grateful you reached out to us. Earth is new to space travel. We have much to learn." "That is why we called you here," Veltar replied. "Your species is young, but you show great promise. You learn fast, you create beautiful things, your music." The Lyrian made a sound like singing crystal. "Your music touches something deep in us." Couldn't help but ask, "You know about our music?" Another Lyrian, who had introduced himself as Colvin, answered, "We have listened to your radio signals for decades. Your symphonies, your songs, they create patterns that match our own soul songs." "Soul songs?" Ram asked. "Each Lyrian has a song inside them," Colvin explained. "It is how we think, how we feel, how we live. Your human music has similar patterns. It tells us your species has great depth." Veltar gestured to a crystal table that grew from the floor. "Please sit. We have an offer for your species." The humans sat on crystal chairs that somehow felt perfectly comfortable. Hyjin prepared herself for the most important conversation in human history. "The galaxy is not empty," Veltar began. "Many species live among the stars. Some are peaceful, like us, others ... The Lyrians' colors turned darker. "Others bring only death and slavery." "You're talking about enemies," Daeho said. "Yes, the Universal Council controls much of this part of the galaxy. They have 12 member species, all warriors. They expand by destroying other civilizations or making them slaves." Hyjin felt cold. "Are they a threat to Earth? Not yet." "Your world is far from their territory, but they grow stronger every year. They will reach human space eventually." The third Lyrian, Nantel, spoke for the first time. "That is why we offer alliance. Together, our species can stand against them." "What kind of alliance?" Hyjin asked. "Mutual defense," Veltar explained. "If the Council attacks humans, Lyrians will fight beside you. If they attack Lyrians, humans will fight beside us. We will share technology, culture, and knowledge." Balaram's eyes lit up. "Technology sharing? What could you teach us?" "Better, faster than light travel, Energy weapons. Shield technology, Colvin listed. In return, your engineering skills could help us. Humans build things differently than we do. Your methods are creative in ways we never considered. Deho looked at Hyjin. This was beyond what they had hoped for. What would this alliance require from Earth? Friendship, Veltar said simply. And the promise that you will stand with peaceful species against those who would destroy them. Can you give us time to discuss this? Hyjin asked. Of course, but first, would you like to see our world? The next 3 days changed everything the humans thought they knew about life in space. The Lyrian homeworld was a crystal paradise. Cities grew like living gems from the ground. The Lyrians didn't build their homes, they sang them into existence. Rem recorded everything with wonder. This is incredible. Their entire civilization is based on harmony. Look at this. She showed Deho her scanner readings. The city itself is alive. The crystals respond to the Lyrians' emotions and thoughts. They visited schools where young Lyrians learned to shape crystal with their songs. They saw hospitals where Lyrians healed each other with specific musical frequencies. Everything was peaceful, beautiful, and impossibly advanced. They've never had a war, Hyjin told Deho on their second night. Veltar told me their species doesn't understand violence between their own kind. They can't even imagine it. That makes them vulnerable, Deho said. If this Universal Council is as bad as they say, that's exactly why they need allies, and why we need them. On the last day, the Lyrians held a concert for the humans. Thousands of Lyrians gathered in a crystal amphitheater and sang together. The sound was unlike anything humans had ever heard. It wasn't just music, it was pure emotion turned into sound. Bahram found herself crying without knowing why. The song spoke of hope, of friendship, of the joy of meeting new people among the stars. When it ended, the entire amphitheater glowed with soft, warm light. That was beautiful, Hyjin whispered. It was a welcome song, Veltar explained. We composed it for your species. It will be sung whenever humans visit our worlds. That night, the 3 humans made their decision. Earth accepts your offer of alliance, Hyjin announced the next morning. We will stand with the Lyrians against any who threaten peaceful species. The crystal ship rang like a bell as every Lyrian aboard sang with joy. Over the following months, the alliance grew stronger. Human engineers worked with Lyrian crystal shapers to build new kinds of ships. Lyrian teachers visited Earth and were amazed by human art and literature. Earth's musicians collaborated with Lyrian singers to create new kinds of music that had never existed before, but far away. In the dark regions of space controlled by the Universal Council, other species watched these developments with anger. The Council did not like to see new alliances forming. They especially did not like to see species sharing technology. Admiral Krethek of the Universal Council studied the reports about humans and Lyrians. His species, the Vorthek, had conquered 17 other species over the past 3 centuries. They knew how to deal with troublesome alliances. Send a message to the Supreme Council, Krethek ordered his aide. Tell them we have a new problem that needs ... solving. The message traveled through Council space, reaching the 12 species that ruled their empire with iron fists. Soon, plans were being made. Plans that would test the new Human-Lyrian alliance in ways neither species could imagine back on Earth. President Sujin Kang signed the formal alliance treaty in a ceremony broadcast around the world. Veltar attended through a holographic link, his crystal form shimmering in the bright lights of the ceremonial hall. Today, humanity takes its first step as a member of the galactic community, President Kang declared. We go forward in friendship and mutual protection. The Lyrians sang their welcome song once more, and humans around the world listened with hope for the future. None of them knew that their first test was already coming. Fleet Admiral Tae-sung Choi was drinking his morning coffee when the message arrived. It came through the emergency command channel, which meant it was either very important or very bad. Looking at his screen, he realized it was both. The message was short and came with no introduction. The words appeared in standard galactic script, which humans had learned from the Lyrians just 6 months ago. Admiral Choi read it twice to make sure he understood correctly. To the primitive species, known as humans, you have made an alliance with enemies of the Universal Council. This alliance is forbidden. You will surrender all Lyrian territories to Council control within 30 standard days. You will also provide all technology related to faster-than-light travel to Council representatives. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of both human and Lyrian civilizations. This is your only warning. The message was signed by Supreme Commander Thexgan of the Universal Council Military Command. Admiral Choi set down his coffee cup and immediately called an emergency meeting. Within 2 hours, Earth's top military leaders and government officials gathered in the secure command center beneath Geneva. "They're not joking," said Intelligence Officer Dongwoo Kim as he presented his analysis. "Our long-range sensors have detected massive fleet movements in Council space. At least 300 ships are moving toward the border regions." President Su Jin-kang looked tired. She had been dealing with the new alliance paperwork and cultural exchanges. Now she faced the possibility of war with an empire that controlled 12 different species. "What do we know about their military capabilities?" she asked. Captain Uje Wanyang, who commanded the destroyer Soul's Fury, stood up. "According to Lyrian intelligence, the Council has been expanding for over 300 years. They have plasma weapons, energy shields, and ships much larger than anything we've built." "How much larger?" Admiral Choi asked. "Their largest dreadnoughts are 3 kilometers long. Our biggest ship is 600 meters. The room fell quiet. Everyone understood what those numbers meant. Dr. Hyjin Park, who had returned from the Lyrian homeworld just weeks ago, spoke next. "I've been talking with Veltar and the other Lyrian leaders. They're scared. The Lyrians have never fought a real war. Their military is designed for defense and exploration, not combat." "What about their crystal ships?" asked Colonel Young-Soo Kim, commander of Earth's Space Marines. "They seemed pretty advanced." "They are advanced," Hyjin replied, "but they're built for harmony and cooperation. Lyrian weapons are mainly designed to disable, not destroy. The Council builds weapons designed to kill as efficiently as possible." Dongwoo brought up a holographic display showing Council ship designs. "Look at this, every Council ship is covered in weapon ports. They don't carry science equipment or cultural exchange materials. These are pure war machines." Admiral Choi studied the display. The Council ships looked brutal, all sharp angles and heavy armor. They were built by species that thought only about conquest and domination. "What's our current military strength?" President Kang asked. 47 combat ships, Admiral Choi replied. 12 destroyers, 28 frigates, 6 cruisers, and 1 battleship. We also have about 200 smaller patrol craft. Against 300 Council ships, we'd be outnumbered 6-1. "And that's assuming they only send the ships we've detected so far," Captain Yang added more bad news. "Our intelligence suggests the Council has been watching us since we made contact with the Lyrians. They know about our technology, our ship designs, and probably our defensive strategies." President Kang stood up and walked to the large window overlooking the Swiss mountains. "What are our options?" "We could try to negotiate," suggested Hyjin. "Maybe offer some kind of compromise." "No." The voice came from Admiral Wu Jin Nam, Earth's most experienced combat commander. "I've read the Council's history. They don't negotiate. They demand total surrender or they destroy everything." "What about running?" asked someone from the back of the room. "We could evacuate Earth and find somewhere else to live." "Where?" Admiral Nam replied. The Council controls most of this region of the galaxy." "And even if we ran, what about the Lyrians? Do we just abandon our allies?" The room fell silent again. Everyone knew that abandoning the Lyrians would be wrong, but fighting the Council seemed like suicide. Ken Yang broke the silence. "There is another option. We fight." "With 47 ships against their entire empire?" President Kang asked. "We're not the same humans who were stuck on Earth 5 years ago," Yang replied. We've learned things from the Lyrians. We've built new technologies. And we have something the Council doesn't expect. What's that? We're unpredictable. Every species the Council has conquered fought the same way. Big fleets meeting in space for traditional battles. They don't know how humans fight. Dongwu nodded. Captain Yang is right. The Council expects their enemies to follow galactic warfare conventions. But humans have never read those conventions. Admiral Choi looked interested. What are you thinking? Guerrilla warfare in space, Yang explained. Hit and run attacks. Strike their supply lines. Make them fight on our terms, not theirs. It's still suicide, someone muttered. Maybe, Admiral Nam said. But it's better than surrender. And it might give the Lyrians time to evacuate their civilian populations. President Kang returned to the table. I need to know something. If we fight, what are our chances of actually winning? The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Choi spoke. Honestly, very small. But if we don't fight, our chances of survival are zero. The Council doesn't keep slaves who might rebel. They eliminate potential threats completely. And the Lyrians? The Lyrians will die whether we fight or not. The Council sees them as weak. And useless. If we fight, at least some of them might survive. President Kang made her decision. Send a message to the Council. Tell them that Earth rejects their demands. Tell them that humans honor their alliances and we will stand with the Lyrians against any aggressor. Ma'am, Dongwu said carefully, are you sure? Once we send that message, there's no going back, I'm sure. And send a copy to every Lyrian leader. I want them to know that Earth keeps its promises. Over the next week, both sides prepared for war. Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to upgrade existing ships and build new ones. The Lyrians shared their advanced energy technologies. While humans provided better armor and more efficient engines, Captain Ari Cho, commander of the frigate Busen's Pride, led joint training exercises with Lyrian crystal ships. The two types of vessels looked strange together. Human ships were dark metal and sharp edges, while Lyrian ships were smooth crystal and flowing curves. Their ships are faster than ours, Ari reported to Admiral Choi. But our ships have better armor and stronger weapons. If we work together, we can cover each other's weaknesses. Meanwhile, Dongwu's intelligence teams tried to learn everything possible about Council military tactics. What they found was disturbing. They don't just defeat their enemies, Dongwu reported. They make examples of them. When the Kefler species tried to resist Council expansion 20 years ago, the Council didn't just win the war. They hunted down every single Kefler survivor and eliminated them completely. Complete genocide? President Kang asked. Complete genocide. The Council wants other species to know what happens when you resist them. On the Lyrian homeworld, civilians began evacuating to hidden colonies in distant star systems. But many Lyrians refused to leave. They had never abandoned their crystal cities before, and they couldn't understand why they should start now. Veltar sent a message to Earth that arrived on the 20th day after the Council ultimatum. My friend Haijin, the message began, we know that humans did not have to stand with us. You could have accepted the Council's offer and been safe. But you chose to risk everything for people you met only months ago. This means more to us than you can know. Whatever happens, the Lyrian people will remember that Earth chose friendship over safety. As the 30th day approached, long-range sensors detected the Council fleet moving toward Lyrian space. The enemy ships moved in. Perfect formation, like a dark cloud spreading across the stars. Admiral Choi gave the final orders. All ships, prepare for combat operations. This is not going to be a fair fight. The enemy has more ships, bigger guns, and more experience, but they don't know how stubborn humans can be. Make every shot count, protect the Lyrians. And remember, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for the right of peaceful species to exist in this galaxy. Captain Yang's destroyer took point position as the human fleet moved toward the battle zone. Behind them, crystal Lyrian ships sang their war songs, the first war songs in their species. History. The Universal Council had expected an easy victory against primitive humans and weak Lyrians. They were about to learn that they had made a serious mistake, but first, they would show the galaxy exactly how brutal they could be when someone dared to resist their power. General Kyung-ho Shin was eating breakfast when the emergency alarm started screaming throughout the command ship. He dropped his chopsticks and ran to the bridge, still wearing his sleeping clothes. What he saw on the main screen made his blood freeze. "They're already here," Captain Seok-jin Lee said from his position at the sensor station. His voice was tight with fear. The Council fleet came out of faster-than-light travel right on top of Lyrian Prime. "How many ships?" Kyung-ho demanded as he grabbed his command jacket. 230 Council vessels. They're not even trying to hide their numbers. Kyung-ho looked at the tactical display. The human and Lyrian defense fleet was still 6 hours away from Lyrian Prime. They had expected the Council to give some kind of warning or demand before attacking. Instead, the enemy had struck like lightning. "Send a message to all ships," Kyung-ho ordered. "Maximum speed to Lyrian Prime emergency battle stations." "Sir," said Lieutenant Haewon from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from the Council flagship." "Put it on screen." The image that appeared made Kyung-ho's stomach turn. Supreme Commander Thexgan was a Vorthak, one of the most violent species in the Council. He looked like a cross between a shark and a spider, with black eyes and too many teeth. Behind him, Kyung-ho could see other Council species. All of them looked like they had been designed for killing. "Humans of Earth," Thexgan said in perfect English. "You chose to ignore our warning. Now you will watch as we demonstrate the price of defying the Universal Council." The screen switched to show Lyrian Prime from orbit. The beautiful crystal cities that Kyung-ho had visited just 2 months ago sparkled in the sunlight. Then the Council ships began firing. The weapons weren't normal plasma cannons or energy beams. These were quantum disruptors, weapons banned by every civilized species in the galaxy. When they hit the crystal cities, the buildings didn't just break, they screamed. "My God," whispered Captain Aricho from her frigate. Her voice came through the fleet communication channel. "The crystals are alive. They're actually screaming." Kyung-ho watched in horror as the Lyrian cities died. The quantum disruptors didn't just destroy the crystal structures, they prevented them from healing or regenerating. It was like watching someone torture a living being to death. "Sir, we're getting emergency signals from all over the planet," reported Haewon. "Civilian evacuation requests, calls for help, medical emergencies. How long until we reach the system?" 5 hours and 43 minutes at maximum speed. Kyung-ho clenched his fists. They were going to be too late. The next few hours were the longest of his life. The human and Lyrian ships pushed their engines beyond safe limits, but space was too big and they had been too far away. Every few minutes, new reports came in from Lyrian Prime. Each one was worse than the last. Council ground forces have landed in the capital city. They're using flame weapons against the civilian shelters. The healing centers have been destroyed. The wounded can't regenerate. They're killing the children first. That last report came from Captain Seok-jin, who had been monitoring Lyrian emergency frequencies. His hands were shaking as he spoke. "Say that again?" Kyung-ho demanded. "The Council forces are targeting Lyrian children first. They're making the parents watch." Captain Aries' voice came over the communication channel and she was crying. "Sir, we have to do something. We can't just listen to this. We're still 4 hours away," Kyung-ho replied. "At maximum speed, then we go faster than maximum speed." If you push your engines any harder, they'll explode." "Then they explode. These are our allies dying down there." Kyung-ho understood her feelings, but he also knew that getting his ships destroyed before they could help wouldn't save any Lyrians. "Maintain current speed. Will be no good to anyone if we arrive in pieces." 2 hours later, they started receiving video transmissions from the planet's surface. Kyung-ho ordered them not to be displayed on the main screens, but he watched them. On his private terminal, he immediately regretted it. The Council forces weren't just killing Lyrians, they were torturing them. The quantum disruptors caused incredible pain but prevented the Lyrians from dying quickly. Some of the aliens he saw being hurt were clearly children, their small crystal bodies changing colors rapidly as they suffered. "Why are they doing this?" asked Dr. Bio-Ram Lee, who was monitoring the transmissions with tears streaming down her face. "The Lyrians never hurt anyone, they're peaceful people." "Because the Council wants other species to see this," Kyung-ho answered. "They want everyone in the galaxy to know what happens when you resist them. That's barbaric. That's why we're going to stop them." Finally, after what felt like years instead of hours, the human and Lyrian fleet reached the edge of the Lyrian Prime System. What they found there was worse than anything they had imagined. The beautiful crystal cities were gone. In their place were smoking craters that still glowed with the evil energy of quantum disruptors. The Council ships hung in orbit like vultures, continuing to fire at anything that moved on the planet's surface. "Council flagship is signaling us," reported Haewon. "Ignore them. All ships, attack formation. Target their largest vessels first." "Sir, we're outnumbered 4-1. I don't care if we're outnumbered 40-1. Those are our friends down there?" The human and Lyrian ships charged toward the Council fleet. Captain Yang's destroyer Soul's Fury led the attack, its weapons blazing. The Lyrian crystal ships sang their war songs, filling their communication channels with sounds of rage and grief. For a moment, it looked like they might actually hurt the Council fleet. Captain Ares' frigate managed to destroy a Council cruiser with a lucky shot to its reactor. 2 Lyrian ships working together brought down an enemy destroyer, but there were too many Council ships, and they were too well armed. Within 30 minutes, half the human fleet was destroyed or disabled. The Lyrian ships fought bravely, but their peaceful design made them poor warships. "General," Captain Seokjin called out, "the Soul's Fury is going down. Captain Yang's ship is breaking apart." Kyung-ho watched his friend's destroyer explode in a ball of fire. Yang had been a good captain and a better person. Now he was dead, along with his entire crew. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," Haewon reported. "It's from Prime Minister Veltar. Put him through." The image of Veltar appeared on screen, but he looked nothing like the proud Lyrian leader Kyung-ho remembered. Veltar's crystal body was cracked and dark. He was clearly dying. "My friend Kyung-ho," Veltar said, his mental voice weak and full of pain, "you came for us. Even knowing you would die, you came for us?" "We're going to get you out of there," Kyung-ho promised, even though he knew it was probably a lie. "No. It is too late for most of us. The Council has used weapons that prevent our healing. We cannot recover from these wounds." Veltar's colors flickered and dimmed. "But I need you to know something. We believed in peace. We believe that violent species could learn to be better. We were wrong about the Council, but we were not wrong about humans. Veltar ... tell your people we believed in peace. Protect that belief ... double quote." The Lyrian's image flickered and disappeared. "Sir," Seokjin reported quietly, "I'm not detecting any more Lyrian life signs from the capital city." Kyung-ho closed his eyes. Veltar was dead. The Lyrian government was gone. An entire peaceful civilization had been wiped out in less than 6 hours. "All ships retreat to Rally Point Gamma," he ordered. "We can't help anyone if we're all dead." As the surviving human and Lyrian ships limped away from the system, Supreme Commander Thexgan sent them one final message. "Humans of Earth, you have seen what happens to those who defy the Universal Council. Your Lyrian friends are dead. Your fleet is broken. Return to your primitive world and never venture into space again, or you will share their fate." The transmission ended with images from Lyrian Prime. 12 million Lyrians had lived on the planet when the day began. The Council's final count showed fewer than 10,000 survivors, scattered and hiding in the ruins of their once beautiful world. Captain Eri, whose ship had somehow survived the battle, sent a message to Earth. Her voice was flat and empty. "This is Captain Eri Cho reporting. The Lyrian homeworld has fallen. Prime Minister Veltar is dead. The Lyrian Confederacy no longer exists. The Council forces are withdrawing from the system. They wanted us to see what they did. They wanted us to know what happens when peaceful species try to resist them. The message reached Earth 6 hours later. President Sujin Kang listened to the full report in her office, surrounded by her top advisors. When it ended, the room was completely silent. Finally, she spoke. How many Lyrians are left alive? Across all their worlds? Maybe 50,000? Admiral Choi reported. Out of a population of 40 million. And they did this just to send us a message? They did this because they enjoy it. The Council doesn't just want to rule the galaxy. They want other species to suffer. President Kang stood up and walked to her window. Outside, people were going about their normal lives, not knowing that their new friends among the stars had just been murdered. Ma'am, asked her chief of staff, what are your orders? President Kang turned around and everyone in the room could see something had changed in her eyes. The woman who had signed a peace treaty with the lie. President Sujin Kang stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. Every representative was present, either in person or through holographic link. Behind her, a massive screen showed images from Lyrian Prime, the dead crystal. Cities, the smoking ruins, the few survivors hiding in caves. 3 days ago, the Universal Council murdered our allies, she began. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel underneath. They killed 12 million innocent civilians. They tortured children while their parents watched. They destroyed an entire peaceful civilization just to send us a message. The assembly hall was completely silent. Many of the representatives were crying as they looked at the images. The Council thinks they have taught us a lesson, President Kang continued. They think we will be afraid. They think we will hide on Earth and never again try to make friends among the stars? She paused and looked around the room. They are wrong. The screen behind her changed to show new images. Earth's military shipyards working at full capacity. Scientists in laboratories, engineers building new weapons. The Council wanted a conversation, President Kang said. They chose to speak in violence and murder. We will answer in kind. Representative Hansal Park from the Korean delegation stood up. Madam President, are you declaring war on the Universal Council? I am declaring the end of the Universal Council, she replied. Not just war, complete elimination. Worried murmurs filled the assembly hall. Representative James Mitchell from the North American Federation raised his hand. Madam President, the Council controls 12 species across hundreds of star systems. Their military is thousands of times larger than ours. How can we possibly, because we are not the same humans who were afraid of the dark between stars 5 years ago, President Kang interrupted. We have learned, we have grown, and we have something the Council has never faced before. What's that? Humans who are truly angry. The screen changed again to show Director Minho Park of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division. He was a thin man, with thick glasses who usually worked on peaceful space exploration technology. Now he was surrounded by weapons that looked like they came from nightmares. Dr. Park will explain what we have been building, President Kang said. Minho stepped forward and activated a holographic display. For the past 2 years, we have been developing technologies that we hoped we would never need to use. Project Prometheus was designed as a last resort defense system. Now it becomes our main offensive capability. The first hologram showed a massive space platform, kinetic bombardment systems. We can drop tungsten rods from orbit at 90% of light speed. They hit with the force of nuclear weapons but leave no radiation. The second hologram showed sleek missiles, antimatter, torpedoes. Each one can destroy a ship 3 kilometers long. The third hologram made several representatives gasp. It looked like a star, but wrong somehow. Stellar igniters, Minho explained quietly, devices that destabilize stellar cores. We can make stars go supernova. Representative Elena Volkov from the European Federation stood up, her face pale. Dr. Park, are you saying we can destroy entire star systems? Yes, ma'am. The Council wanted to show us what total warfare looks like. We are prepared to show them that humans are very good students. President Kang returned to the podium. The Universal Council will learn that there are consequences for murdering innocent people. They will learn that humans protect their friends. And they will learn that when you make an enemy of Earth, you have made a mistake that cannot be fixed. The vote was unanimous. Earth was going to war. Admiral Taesung Choi looked at the new fleet taking shape in Earth's orbital shipyards. These ships were nothing like the vessels that had tried to defend Lyrian Prime. They were black, angular, and covered in weapons. They had been designed for one purpose: killing Council forces as efficiently as possible. "How many ships will we have ready in 30 days?" he asked Chief Engineer So Young Lim. 47 new vessels, all equipped with Prometheus weapons systems. Plus the survivors from the Lyrian battle, we've upgraded them with the new technology. What about the Council's response? They must know we're building something. Our intelligence networks show they're not taking us seriously, reported Colonel Dongwoo Kim. They think we're building more of the same ships they already defeated. They don't know about Prometheus, Admiral Choi nodded. Good, let them stay ignorant for as long as possible. Captain Haewon Im, who had been promoted after surviving the Lyrian Prime battle, brought more news. Sir, we've been contacted by some of the Lyrian survivors. They want to help. How can they help? Their ships were destroyed. Not their ships? Their knowledge. The Lyrians know everything about Council technology, tactics, and weaknesses. They want revenge as much as we do. That evening, Admiral Choi met with Rolvan, one of the few surviving Lyrian military commanders. The crystal being had been badly damaged in the battle, and his body still showed dark cracks where the quantum disruptors had hit him. "My friend," Rolvan said through the mental link that all Lyrians used to communicate, "I have seen your new ships. They are designed for destruction, not exploration." "Yes," Admiral Choi replied. "We learned from what happened to your people. The Council will not expect this change. They think all species fight the same way, large fleets meeting in open space for honorable battle. There's nothing honorable about what they did to your people. No, that is why we will help you destroy them completely." Ralvanus's color shifted to deep red, something Admiral Choi had never seen from Illyrian before. "We were a peaceful people. We believed in harmony and cooperation. The Council has murdered those beliefs along with our children. What can you tell us about their weaknesses?" "Many things. The Council species do not trust each other. They are allies only because they fear their leaders more than they hate each other. Their supply lines are long and poorly defended because they have never faced a real enemy. And their commanders are arrogant. They always expect their enemies to surrender after the first defeat." Over the following weeks, Earth's new military doctrine took shape. Admiral Wu Jin Nam led the strategic planning committee that threw out everything humans had learned about space warfare. "We're not going to fight them ship to ship," he explained to his staff. "We're going to hunt them. We're going to make them afraid to leave their home systems. We're going to show them what happens when predators become prey." Captain Ari Cho, whose ship had been completely rebuilt with Prometheus technology, led the new Ghost Fleet, stealth vessels designed to strike without warning and disappear before the enemy could respond. "Our first targets will be their supply convoys," she explained to her pilots. "The Council Empire is huge, but it depends on resources flowing from conquered worlds to the core systems. We cut those supply lines and their military machine starves." Dr. Bio Ram Lee, who had been promoted to head of xenobiology warfare, worked on understanding Council psychology. "Most of their species have never experienced real fear," she reported. "They conquer through overwhelming force and intimidation. But fear is a human specialty. We're going to teach them what terror really means." The Council, meanwhile, was celebrating their easy victory over the humans and Lyrians. Supreme Commander Thexgan had been promoted for his successful demonstration of Council power. The other Council species were impressed by how quickly the human resistance had been crushed. "The primitive humans learned their lesson," Thexgan reported to the Supreme Council chamber. Our intelligence shows they are rebuilding their military, but with the same inferior technology they used before, they pose no threat. General Crixville of the Horthic species agreed. The humans are like all the other species we have conquered. One defeat is enough to break their spirit. They will hide on their world and never bother us again. They were wrong on Earth. The final preparations were being completed. President Kang met with the survivors of the original battle, the captains and crews, who had watched their friends die at Lyrian Prime. I know some of you think what we're planning is too extreme, she said. I know some of you believe we should try to negotiate or find a peaceful solution. Captain Seok-Jin Lee, whose ship had barely survived the battle, spoke for the group. Madam President, we tried peace. We tried friendship. We tried cooperation. The council answered by murdering children and torturing innocents. There is no negotiating with monsters. Then you understand what we have to do. Yes, ma'am, we understand perfectly. President Kang activated a communication link that reached every human military unit in the solar system. Her message was broadcast to every ship, every base, and every command center. The council thinks they have broken us. They think we will hide and never again venture into space. They think the murder of our allies has taught us to be afraid. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Tomorrow we begin teaching them how wrong they are. Operation Starfall commences at 0600 hours. The Universal Council wanted to show us what total warfare looks like. We are about to show them that humans are very good students. The transmission ended, and across human space, the war machine that Earth had built began to move. The Council had murdered humanity's first alien friends. Now they would learn what it meant to make an enemy of Earth. The galaxy was about to... Admiral Wu Jin Nam stood on the bridge of the new flagship Inchin's Revenge and watched Operation Starfall begin. Across Council space, 47 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at exactly the same moment. Each ship had a specific target. Each target had been chosen for maximum damage to the Council's war machine. Ghost Fleet report status. Admiral Nam said into his communication device. Captain Haywonham's voice came back immediately. All stealth ships in position. Council Supply Convoy Delta 7 in sight. 15 cargo ships with minimal escort. Execute. Phase 1. What happened next had never been seen before in galactic warfare. The human ships didn't announce themselves or demand surrender. They simply appeared from nowhere and began destroying everything that moved. Captain Hay-One's stealth destroyer materialized right next to the largest Council cargo ship and fired 3 antimatter torpedoes at point-blank range. The enemy vessel vaporized instantly. Before the convoy escorts could react, 5 more human ships appeared and began methodically destroying every Council vessel in the area. Contact destroyed, Captain Hay-One reported. No survivors. No distress signals sent. Ghost Fleet moving to next target. Across Council space, the same scene played out dozens of times. Colonel Young-Soo Kim's Marines hit a Council military base and eliminated every defender before they could call for help. Captain Airy Cho's frigates destroyed 3 different supply depots in the same star system, making it look like accidents or pirate attacks. Dr. So Young Lim activated the first stellar igniter from a safe distance of 10 light-years away. The target star began to fluctuate, then suddenly exploded in a supernova that destroyed everything in the system, including a major Council shipyard and the entire Vorthic Third Fleet. Supreme Commander Thexcan was in his command ship when the first reports began arriving. At first, he didn't believe them. "Sir, we've lost contact with Supply Fleet Gamma," reported his aide. "Probably equipment failure. Send a repair ship." "Sir, the repair ship found debris. The entire fleet was destroyed." Thexcan looked up from his reports. "Destroyed by whom?" "There are no enemy forces in that region." "Unknown, sir." No distress signals were sent. No survivors found. Over the next 6 hours, more reports came in. Council forces were disappearing all across their territory. Ships vanished without a trace. Military bases went silent. Entire star systems stopped responding to communication attempts. "This makes no sense." Thexcan told his staff. We have the most powerful military in the galaxy. Who could be doing this? General Crixville had a suggestion. Perhaps some of the conquered species have formed a rebellion. The Kefler survivors, or maybe the Zeftai remnants. The Kefler are extinct, we made sure of that. And the Zeftai don't have ships capable of this kind of destruction. Then who? Thexcan stared at the strategic display showing all the lost council positions. The attack seemed random, but he was beginning to see a pattern. Every target had been important to council military operations, but none had been heavily defended. Send a message to all fleet commanders, he ordered. Increase security around all major installations. Deploy hunter-killer groups to find whoever is responsible for these attacks. The council military machine began to respond. Hunter fleets spread out across their territory, looking for the mysterious attackers. Defense forces were doubled around important targets. Communications networks were strengthened to prevent future surprise attacks, but the humans had anticipated this response. Captain Seok Jin Lee commanded one of the new silent ships, vessels designed specifically to prevent enemy communications. When a council hunter fleet tried to investigate the destroyed supply convoy, his ship jammed all their signals and called in kinetic bombardment from orbit. The tungsten rods fell from space at 90% of light speed. The council ships never saw them coming. 15 enemy vessels were destroyed in less than 30 seconds, and their deaths were completely silent. Target eliminated, Captain Seokjin reported to Admiral Nam. No signals sent. Council response. Time delayed by at least 6 hours. Admiral Nam smiled grimly. Proceed to secondary targets. The humans weren't just fighting a war, they were hunting. Every council ship that tried to investigate an attack became a target itself. Every base that tried to call for help found its communications cut and its defenders eliminated. But the most terrifying part of the human strategy was the psychological warfare. Dr. B.O. Lee had studied council species psychology for months. After the Lyrian massacre, she knew exactly how to break their morale. The council species have never experienced real fear, she explained to Admiral Nam. They've always been the predators. We're going to reverse that relationship. The humans began leaving messages at attack sites. Not threats or demands, just simple statements of fact. The Lyrians were peaceful people. You murdered them, now we hunt you. You wanted to teach humans about fear. We are returning the lesson. Every council ship will be destroyed. Every council world will burn. There will be no survivors. The messages were left in the wreckage of destroyed fleets, carved into the ruins of military bases, and broadcast on emergency frequencies before communication systems were destroyed. Supreme Commander Thexcan received his first human message after losing his 5th Hunter fleet in 3 days. The text appeared on his command screen in perfect Vorthak script. Thexcan of the Vorthak. You ordered the murder of children on Lyrian Prime. Your death will be slow and painful. We are coming for you. For the first time in his life, Thexcan felt afraid. How do they know my name? He demanded. How do they know our language? His aide checked the message carefully. Sir, this was transmitted directly to your personal command frequency. Only Council Military Command has access to that frequency. You're saying they've infiltrated our communication networks? It's the only explanation, sir. Thexcan stared at the message. The humans had not only learned to fight, they had learned to strike fear into their enemies' hearts. The psychological campaign worked better than the humans had hoped. Council forces began requesting transfers away from frontier positions. Some ships simply disappeared, their crews deserting rather than face the mysterious human hunters, but the humans weren't finished. After 2 weeks of hit-and-run attacks, Admiral Nog activated Phase 2 of Operation Starfall. All ships begin assault on primary targets, he ordered. The primary targets were the Council's core military installations, the heavily defended systems that kept their empire functioning. Captain Haywon led the assault on Council military command headquarters. Her fleet appeared in the system and immediately began bombarding the massive space station with kinetic weapons, but instead of trying to capture the station, the humans did something unexpected. They destroyed everything except the command center, then sent a single message. Supreme Commander Thexgan, come out and face us, or we will hunt down every council leader one by one. You have 1 hour to respond. Thexgan was trapped. If he came out, he would probably die. If he stayed hidden, the humans would carry out their threat and eliminate the entire council leadership. He chose to come out. The final battle between the Thexgan's flagship and the human fleet lasted less than 10 minutes. The council dreadnought was 3 times larger than any human ship, but it was designed for intimidation, not efficiency. Captain Eri Cho fired the shot that crippled Thexgan's engines. Captain Seogjin delivered the killing blow that split the enemy ship in half. Supreme Commander Thexgan is dead, Admiral Nam announced on all frequencies. The Universal Council leadership is eliminated. All council forces have 24 hours to surrender or face total destruction. The surrender came in 18 hours, but the humans weren't interested in accepting surrender. They had promised complete elimination of the council, and they kept their promises. Dr. So Young Lim activated stellar igniters in 4 more council home systems. Captain Young Su's Marines eliminated the council government buildings on 6 different worlds. Admiral Nam's main fleet hunted down the last council military units and destroyed them completely. The 12 species that had formed the Universal Council were scattered to the solar winds. Their military was destroyed. Their government was eliminated. Their empire was broken into pieces that would never threaten anyone again. The galaxy watched in shock as humanity systematically destroyed the most powerful empire in known space. Species that had lived in fear of the Council for centuries suddenly found themselves free. But freedom came with a price. President Te Jing-kong sent a message to every intelligent species in the galaxy. Her words were translated into thousands of languages and broadcast on every frequency. The Universal Council is gone, their empire of fear and murder is ended. But do not mistake this for mercy. Humanity protects peaceful species. We hunt those who prey on the innocent. Any species that threatens civilians will face the same fate as the Council. Terra's judgment is final. Choose peace or face fire. The message was received by every government, every military command, and every species in the galaxy. The meaning was clear. Earth was now the dominant power in the galaxy, and humans would not tolerate species that murdered children and tortured innocents. The galaxy had learned a new rule. Don't make humans angry, but more importantly, it had learned that some species were too dangerous. 6 months after the fall of the Universal Council, President Sujin Kang stood in the ruins of the former council capital on Vorthek Prime. The massive government buildings that had once commanded an empire of fear were now broken, stone and twisted metal. Weeds were already growing through the cracks. It's hard to believe they ruled half the galaxy from here, said Admiral Daeho Kim, who now held the title of Grand Admiral of the Terran Protectorate Fleet. Fear is a powerful tool, President Kong replied, but it only works until someone refuses to be afraid. They were here for the official ceremony that would establish the new galactic order. Representatives from over 200 species had come to witness humanity's declaration of how the galaxy would work from now on. The ceremony was being held in the exact spot where the Council had broadcast their threats to other species for 3 centuries. Now it would become something completely different. Captain Eri Cho approached with her security detail. Ma'am, the representatives are ready. The Lyrian survivors have arrived for the memorial service. President Kang nodded. The memorial service for the murdered Lyrians would happen first, then the political ceremony. It was important to remember why this change had been necessary. Rolvin led the small group of Lyrian survivors to the memorial platform. There were only 43,000 Lyrians left alive in the entire galaxy, down from 40 million before the massacre. Each one carried the memory of friends and family who had been tortured to death by Council forces. We gather today not to celebrate victory, Rolvin said through the mental link that translated his words to all species present, but to remember those who died because they chose peace over power. The memorial was simple, a crystal sculpture that sang when the wind passed through it. The song was one that Lyrian children had been learning when the council attacked. Now it would play forever in memory of the innocent dead. The council believed that fear could replace justice, Roven continued. They believed that power could replace compassion. They were wrong. Today we prove that peaceful species can survive in this galaxy because someone is willing to protect them. After the memorial, President Kang took the platform where Council Supreme Commanders had once announced new conquests and enslaved species. The irony was not lost on anyone present. 6 months ago, the Universal Council controlled this part of the galaxy through fear and violence, she began. They murdered anyone who opposed them. They enslaved species that could not defend themselves. They tortured children to break their parents' spirits. The crowd was completely silent. Many of the representatives had lived under council rule their entire lives. Today, that era ends. The council is gone, their military is destroyed, their leadership is dead. Their empire will never rise again. Scattered applause came from the crowd, but President Kang raised her hand for silence. But humanity did not destroy the council to take their place. We did not eliminate one empire just to build another. We fought to protect our friends and to ensure that peaceful species can exist safely among the stars. She gestured to Admiral Deho, who stepped forward with a document. Today we establish the Terran Protectorate. This is not an empire. Earth does not seek to rule other species. We seek only to guarantee that no species will ever again face genocide for choosing peace over war. The document was the Galactic Protection Charter, written in the languages of every species present. Its terms were simple but absolute. Any species may govern itself as it chooses, President Kang read. Any species may trade freely with others. Any species may explore space and colonize new worlds. But no species may threaten civilians. No species may commit genocide. No species may enslave others. Those who break these rules will face Earth's judgment. Representative Calder of the Mishtai species raised his hand. President Kang, what happens if we disagree with Earth's judgment? What if we believe humans are wrong about something? You may argue your case before the Protectorate Council, President Kang replied. But understand this. Earth's military will enforce these rules whether you agree with them or not. The time for negotiating with murderers and slavers is over. This caused worried murmurs among some representatives. They had lived with the Council's tyranny, but they also feared human power. Representative Velinara of the Zeftai survivors spoke next. President Kang, how do we know humans won't become tyrants like the Council? Power corrupts all species eventually. President Kang had expected this question. You don't know that. You have only our word and our actions. But consider this. We could have conquered your worlds instead of liberating them. We could have enslaved your species instead of freeing them. We could have taken the Council's place as galactic rulers. She paused and looked around the crowd. Instead, we're standing here asking for your cooperation in building a better galaxy. The choice is yours. Accept our protection and live freely, or reject it and take responsibility for your own defense against whatever new threats arise. The vote was overwhelming. 197 species joined the Terran Protectorate immediately. The remaining species asked for time to consider, but none voted against the charter. 3 weeks later, Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of his flagship, monitoring the new Protectorate fleet as it conducted patrol operations throughout former Council space. The fleet was massive, over 500 ships crewed by humans and volunteers from dozens of species. Sir, we're receiving a distress call from the Rigel sector, reported Captain Haywanheim from her position as Fleet Communication Officer. What's the situation? Unknown raiders attacking civilian colonies. The local defense force is asking for help. Send the Third Fleet to investigate rules of engagement. Standard Protectorate protocol, sir. Protect civilians first. Eliminate threats to non-combatants. Admiral Deho smiled grimly. The raiders would learn what every predator species in the galaxy was learning. There were new rules now, and humans enforced them absolutely. 2 days later, Captain Seok Jin Lee submitted his report on the Rigel incident. 12 raider ships attempted to enslave civilian population. Raiders identified as survivors of Council military units. All raider vessels destroyed, no survivors. Civilian casualties, 0. It was becoming a pattern. Across the galaxy, former Council military units, pirate fleets, and opportunistic predator species were testing the new order. None of them survived the experience. The message was spreading quickly. Earth's protection was real, and challenging it was fatal, but the most important changes were happening on the liberated worlds. Captain Ericho visited the Mishtai homeworld and found something amazing. For the first time in 300 years, the Mishtai were building art instead of weapons. Their children were learning music instead of combat tactics. Their government was focused on exploration and science instead of defense and survival. "It's hard to believe," the Mishtai Prime Minister told her. "Our people had forgotten what peace felt like. We had been afraid for so long that we thought fear was normal." "Fear was never normal," Captain Eri replied. "It was just what the Council wanted you to believe." On New Lyria, the few surviving Lyrians were rebuilding their civilization with help from human engineers and volunteers from a dozen other species. The new crystal cities were even more beautiful than the originals, and this time they were protected by orbital defense platforms crewed by humans who would die before allowing another massacre. Commander Young-Soo Kim, now in charge of Protectorate Marine Forces, established training academies on 50 different worlds. The curriculum was simple: how to defend civilian populations against military aggression. "We're not training conquerors," he explained to his instructors. "We're training protectors. Every species in the Protectorate will know how to defend innocent people." The most unexpected development came from the former Council species themselves. The 12 species that had formed the Empire found themselves scattered and powerless, but also free from the system that had forced them to be conquerors. Representative Thala of the former Vorthak military contacted Earth directly. "President Kang, my people want to join the Protectorate. We know this seems impossible after what we did to the Lyrians, but we want to make things right." The request caused heated debate in the Protectorate Council. Many species wanted the former Council members punished, not accepted, but President Kang made the decision herself. "The Vorthak people will be accepted into the Protectorate," she announced, "but with conditions. They will provide reparations to Lyrian survivors. They will serve in Protectorate Defense Forces for 50 years, and they will help hunt down any remaining Council war criminals." "Some people won't like this decision," Admiral Deho warned her. "Some people don't understand the difference between justice and revenge," President Kang replied. "We're building a better galaxy, not just punishing the old one." 1 year after the fall of the Council, Dr. Bio Ram Lee published her report on galactic civilization changes. The statistics were remarkable. Interspecies wars down 97%. Civilian casualties from military action down 99%. Slave trading eliminated completely. New peaceful contact between species up 400%. The galaxy was becoming a very different place, but the most important moment came during the first anniversary memorial say.